Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of eXhuming the X-Files here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel, the show on YouTube where we talk everything X-Files. We are slowly making our way through the entire series, and tonight we are on episode 102. We'll tell you what it is in just a minute, but I am joined once again by my friend Jeremy.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
And this episode, I have very specific memories of this from when I was a kid. We're going to talk the postmodern Prometheus. Now, do you know who wrote and directed this episode, Jeremy?
I do not.
Okay, I'm not going to tell you. I want to kind of like.
Fuck you then.
No, I want to kind of see. I want to see what your thoughts and reactions are to this episode, and then remind me at the end. I'll tell you who wrote and directed this one because it's kind of interesting. So yeah, postmodern Prometheus. Did you have any memories of this one as a kid?
I did not. No.
Really?
Well, no. I remember the two-faced guy sex thing, but
the assaults.
This episode was a roller coaster for me in that aspect.
Yeah. I remember this distinctly as a child because my mom is a huge Cher fan. Humongous Cher fan. Now, I hate Cher's music. I listened to it my entire childhood growing up. My mom would play Cher on repeat to this day. She'll, if we're in a car, Cher comes on the radio, she blasts it and she starts singing it right in my face because she knows that it just bothers me. And I remember it was very difficult to get my mom to watch the X-Files back then. She just wasn't into this show and whatnot. And I remember watching this sort of opening intro and Cher came on. And I was like, oh no. And that piqued my mom's curiosity. And she came over and she watched this episode and she ended up loving this episode.
Why?
Because it had Cher in it. And it had all kinds of stuff involving Cher. And she loves Cher. Oh my God. So those are my, this, sitting there watching this episode with my mom when I was 14, 15, whatever old I was, it's just seared into my memory. And so I have very sort of fond memories of this. This is probably the first X-Files episode I watched with my mom, just kind of sat down and watched. I think this is maybe the first one she'd ever seen straight through. So, postmodern Prometheus, interesting because this one is in black and white and it is sort of framed like a comic book. So it's another thing that I was just super into because I love black and white films. I love black and white just stuff in general. And of course, I love comic books. I was a huge comic book reader when I was younger. And you remember, Jeremy, we went on the Wizard magazine scavenger hunt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was a
picture of me in a tub underage.
That's true. That's true. That might get me arrested if somebody were to find that. But I think we got third place in the Wizard magazine thing. Because I think maybe you'd gone to the military or something, and then we got the announcement that, hey, you guys won, because it took forever for them to get back to us if we won or not. But I remember getting a grab bag of just stupid shit from Wizard.
And that was just the last minute stuff. You remember the initial bag out of that scavenger hunt that we lost and could have turned in? Would we have gotten second or first place?
Maybe.
If we still had all that other shit?
Maybe. Yeah. And for the listeners out there, if you're not sure, Wizard magazine was this big comic book magazine in the 1990s, and it's kind of like a price guide and just talked all about comic book stuff. But they had a scavenger hunt where it was you got to find 50 things, and it was the random, most bizarre shit. And it was you, me, and Brady, I think. Didn't we just go around Grand Island trying to find as many things as we could? And I think we got almost everything on that first round, but then something happened. They got lost or something. We had to last minute go try to find everything. Yeah. But we still got third place, which is pretty cool, all things considered. So let's talk about the postmodern Prometheus. Let's get into it.
All right. So the very first line that I wrote here is, it starts with a comic book opening to a black and white filming. This is going to be Matt's number one this season, no doubt in my mind.
It might be. It might be.
It has a couple of real big younger dudes trying and failing to get this ancient car started, and they're apparently just trying to get it started so they can go to a comic book convention, which we never see for the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
Right as they get the car started, one of their moms comes out and just starts like half-heartedly threatening to throw them out on the street for having a life, which I thought was weird. Like, it wasn't like old Izzy was skipping out on doing his chores or promised mom. She just went out there and was like, "Where are you going? Comic book convention. You may not return to a home." And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Jeez.
She was a little harsh.
But then she kind of softened a little bit and she was like, "Drive careful, booger," because the other guy in the car, who looked like a twin of the dude in the car just wearing glasses. I don't know if that was a thing. But they drive off. Then it goes into the house later. It's like evening time. The mom is home alone watching television. I noticed that there was a picture of her son with a prize-winning hog from like a fair or something. I'm sorry, but you don't have prize-winning full-size hogs when you live in suburbia. Like, you have to have a farm to make that work. But
maybe it's a 4-H thing. Maybe he just went out to a farm and worked on it, and that was the hog he raised out on a farm.
Do you even know how 4-H works?
No, I was never in it.
Okay.
These hands are not made for manual labor. So
I wasn't a farm kid either, but I grew up around it. You know what? Fuck it. Forget it. Ignored Nebraska heritage. You're a California boy. But anyway, she is sitting there watching Jerry Springer, and all of a sudden, like, there's these rubber, like, bug bombing tent house thing that starts slipping over all the windows. And it's just the weirdest. I mean, I get it. I get that, you know, you needed this all to happen, but it's like, that's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
For one guy to do. And he was all like, he couldn't run away from people. He was kind of limping around, and that's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
But anyway, inside the house, like this puck thing hits a hot frying pan, starts gassing the whole place. And then this weirdo with two faces starts listening to Cher, and it seems like it's almost a romantic scene in the process of this lady passing out. She sees him, she gasps because he is horrible looking, and then we get the title.
Could you see him in 480p?
I could see half of his face, and what I saw was not too good.
It looked glorious in high definition. Just the lighting and everything of this. What were your thoughts on this cold open?
It's going to be a monster of the week episode, and they're already having fun with it. So yeah, fine. Let's see where it goes. It was cool.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. You could just tell right away that it's you know, just with the postmodern Prometheus, the name of the episode, you could tell it's sort of homaging James Whale's Frankenstein. And you know, I'm just kind of like, this is what I love about X-Files, when they do something sort of like unusual and outside the box. And it feels like it's been a minute since we've had something like that, especially with the last season, where there just wasn't a ton of like, hey, this is just kind of like a Clyde Bruckman's Final Repos, just something that's like super fun and weird and kind of wacky and wild. And so I was on board as soon as that comic book page turned. You know me well. I was on board. I was like, hell yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. And you know, I knew. I think we were devoid of an episode like. Didn't you just get done saying this in season 4? We didn't have one fun, tongue-in-cheek episode like this that I recall.
Not really. Yeah, I'm trying to struggle. I mean, the fact that we can't really remember is probably an indictment on that season. But yeah, I mean, it's not like War. It's not like a Darren Morgan written one, like War of the Coprophages and like all of that kind of fun stuff. This felt like it was going to be fun. Now, maybe the subject matter is a little like, when we find out what's going on here.
Oh, we'll get there, Matt. This episode was problematic.
Yeah, problematic, as the kids say these days.
So it starts with the agents are driving out to bumfuck nowhere, reading a letter from a lady who only gets knocked up once every 18 years in her story. And then the next line that I wrote, and I ended up pasting you this earlier today, is like, I just want to take a minute to notice that this lady, she says that she got Mulder's contact information from the episode of Jerry Springer that she was watching that night, as the lady on the Jerry Springer show had a werewolf son, and Mulder, I guess, expressed interests. And I was like, other than the episode where the FBI calls in Mulder to do like a serial killer profile, this is easily the most believable way Mulder and Scully have ever been brought in a case. Like there's no
Yeah.
question. Yeah, they're there and they belong there this
Well,
time.
and I love how Mulder and Scully plays like David Duchovny. Like Gillian Anderson's reading this, like she's like, "Are you serious? Is this why we're at the?" But David Duchovny's just like looking at her, like, "Uh huh, uh huh." He's not even saying; he's just nodding, like, "Mm-hmm, mm-hmm." It's just so funny. It's so
Well,
funny.
he says, yeah, he has this argument, and I'll just go throw it out there in like a scene or two from now, where he badly argues that if something is unverifiable, he just assumes that it's true.
Yeah.
Like
Fair,
the
fair.
thinnest of threads.
I will
Band,
point out that well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I will point out for the kids listening to this show. I just want to throw out, Jeremy, what was Jerry Springer show? Like, what's the Jerry Springer show?
oh shit. Okay, so right around the time that Jerry Springer landed on the scene, there was a lot of talk shows that were playing throughout the day. You had your Oprahs, you had your Maury Poviches, and
Donahue.
yeah, and there, what seemed to start, there was some sort of culture shift toward the early to mid 90s where all of these talk shows started doing like freaky stuff. Like I think they were making fun of Oprah. On a comedian was making fun of Oprah because she didn't start really blowing up in popularity till she started like just wheeling in midgets by the bucket load onto her show. It's like what would get people to tune in to these talk shows were just fucking weirdos. And
Trash
so
television is what they called it back then.
Jerry came onto the scene, and he didn't even try to do a straight and narrow episode. He just brought in the weirdest fucking people in order to argue about this or about that, start fights. They would
Yeah.
bring in like, they bring in the KKK on half of one of stage, and then like some Black Panthers on the other side of the stage, and then they would just fucking beat the shit out of each other. Like it was a wild ass show, but it was super popular
Oh yeah, it was
because
like a
people
cultural
like
phenomenon.
they love watching train wrecks.
Yeah.
Everybody you've ever like yelled at a car wreck because they're just staring as they're driving by instead of paying attention to what they're doing. These assholes are everywhere, and Jerry Springer was made for them.
Yeah, yeah, there is a great documentary about Jerry Springer that was on Netflix. Can't remember what the name of it is, but type in Jerry Springer and you'll see it's like a three-part, and it shows all the producers of that show and how basically they were instructed to bring people together that would fight, like put them in a position to beat each other up. It's quite fascinating.
I mean, I watched some of it. I was sick, from school some days, and
Oh yeah,
you watch The Price is Right in the morning, and then you take that early nap, and you wake up in time for Springer. Like,
yeah,
it's a thing.
for
I'm not
sure.
above it. So they go over to this lady who 3 days later just knows that she's knocked up. Pours some I wrote it here, some off-brand perk cola, and she is just fangirling Mulder so hard. Scully is disgusted by it, but like Mulder's eating it up. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, you saw me on the Jerry Springer show, or you heard of me through the Jerry Springer show. Like, hell yeah. And like Scully immediately just lets those two talk and just starts kind of wandering around the house doing an investigation. And it seems like she's setting up the son to be, okay, your son is who knocked you up. And you
Yeah.
know what? Here's this magazine, comic book that the kid wrote, I guess. That had some pretty high production value for a kid, right?
Yeah.
A
The
teenager.
Great Mutato.
And it was an exact replica of this dude that had banged his mom to Cher while she was on. I'm sorry, raped his mom to Cher.
Yeah, it is sexual assault. No consent going here with the Great Mutato. No consent at all.
And then the son shows up, and it looks like Scully's just going to try to pin this on the son. And the son's like, "Oh no, I drew that comic book based on some real monster guy that's running around town." They're like, Mulder's like, "Really?" And so it's like, "Yeah,
Ooh,
we could
monster, you
trap him.
say?
He likes peanut butter." So they go out to fucking middle of nowhere, or what is it? This is where we have that unverifiable, like Scully's like, you don't believe any of this shit, do you? This is just hokey stuff. They just want to get on Springer, and Mulder's just like, if something is unverifiable or unverifiable, I have to assume that it's true. And then
Yeah.
they just move on with the scene.
I feel like she had this conversation with him a little bit back in the Queequeg episode where Queequeg gets eaten and they're going to the lake
It's
and
for
they're
the
driving to the
reward.
lake. Yeah, they're driving to the lake and Scully's like, "What do you? We're going to look for a lake monster. Like, that's really what we're doing." I feel like they've had this conversation before.
But Mulder's going to grab onto the thinnest of straws, and he's not going to excuse himself for it because he keeps being right.
Yeah.
So they hook up with Izzy or Izzard, whatever his name is, and his friends. They go out in the middle of nowhere and leave a peanut butter sandwich sitting on a stump next to a tree line. And then the storm starts rolling in, like they're using lightning effects and stuff in the background. Just kind of, I don't know, just to ham it up a little bit as far as the monster is revealed. And sure enough, this fucking dude just wanders over the wood line and grabs this sandwich, and they just sprint across this open field chasing him
Yeah.
down.
Well, I
He
was like,
puts,
when I'm watching this, I'm like, why are they like 100 yards away from this stump? Like they are so far away from where they set up this trap for this individual. I was like, get a little closer, man.
but they run him off. Like Scully saw everything, saw him clear as day, picks up the sandwich and's like, sees the bites taken out of it, and she's like, "What the?" So they chase him through a wood line, and they end up running into this old man. He's like, "Get off my land!" It was just so schlocky. It was good, but
That's the point of this episode.
for sure.
Schlock is the point of this episode.
And so they get run off by the cops, or the guy tells them to leave. Basically, they do, but he does point them to. He's like, you're looking for monsters. You need to go talk to this doctor. And so they do, and it's fucking Jay Peterman from the Seinfeld show.
He's great in this, by the way.
Yeah, he's this like he's the mad scientist type, and he's like a fruit fly nut. He figures out how to make fucking legs grow out of the faces of fruit flies because he's a god.
Yeah. I love that sequence when he's acting like he's so superior, no one would be able to understand his science. And Scully's like, "Well, I'm a scientist," and his little assistant, whatever's got the little jar of fruit flies. Like, what should I do with all these? They all fly away, and then like you could just see Jay Peterman's face, and the guy's like, "Oh, sorry." I'm cracking up throughout this episode. I'm cracking up. Hilarious.
It was pretty funny. What is it? Let me catch up to my fucking notes here. He does, he just lets them know, or they have kind of an argument because, like, can this happen to a human? And he's like, of course it can, as long as you're willing to, like, push ethical boundaries. And Scully's just arguing like nobody would do this. Scully, this is 5 seasons of some of the craziest shit human beings have ever seen. Somebody would do this. Somebody's done this.
She's seen like alien bounty hunters running around and all these weird experiments on human beings, on herself, which we'll find out in the next couple episodes. She does not believe anyone would do this.
Anyway, they leave, and I guess the very next scene, Dr. J. Peterman is talking to his wife. And his wife he's like, I'm pursuing science. I don't have time to ball you,
Yeah.
knock you up.
She wants a baby.
And he wants a Nobel Peace Prize or something. And so he ends up leaving. Like, and they're having this conversation after dark during a lightning storm. And like it seems
Perfect
almost
time
as
to
soon.
get in the mood, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Lightning
right.
storm.
Right. Because and this is like somehow the great Mutado knows when a woman wants some penis, and he has the gassing tent just ready to go. Like that's his superpower, is knowing when somebody wants to have a baby or is available to get laid, because he's just there. It seems like as soon as Dr. Peterman leaves, the tent starts rolling over the windows just like the other place does. And then we get this whole like was it risky business style sliding across the floor, like jamming out to Cher, gonna go rape this lady.
I mean, we're laughing. It's the idea, the concept of this isn't funny, but the execution of it is so absurd.
Well, this episode ends up fucking with me so much because I was like, is he really doing this? Is he this much of a monster? And then we'll get later, but then you know what? We'll just keep going. We'll get there eventually. The next day, Mulder walks into a diner and everybody is eye fucking him, like trying to like, hey buddy, and he's totally digging it. Like the ugly ones, the pretty ones, the men, the women, like they're all looking at him. He's like, yeah.
There's all these close-ups of these actors' faces, and like one girl's eyes are going like different directions, and she's like licking her lips, and Mulder's like, all right, he's a rock star. I thought he was going to order the pie, though.
Mm-hmm.
He should have ordered a pie, and they didn't have him do it.
Like
missed opportunity.
Like a whole sweet potato pie.
Yeah,
that should be a recurring joke.
Yeah,
but he finds out that there's a newspaper article that Jerry Springer's coming to town because what had happened is he had a tape recorder and was recording everything the FBI said, and then turned that over to this news reporter lady who acts like she's a bird. That lady was straight out of Twin Peaks, man.
Oh yeah. I wrote that down as a note. It's like, this is like just a character that David Lynch allowed them to use or something. Yeah. She's just like, she's got strange like neck movements, and she's got a pointy nose, and she's just very like bird-like. Yeah, very strange.
And then the newspaper article outs Izzy, the son. They go to visit him to say, you know, I know that you recorded us and turned it over to the news. And they're trying to like, I think Scully at this point is really trying super hard to pin this as a hoax on the son.
Yeah.
And instead, like Mulder feels compelled to compare this directly to the Frankenstein book and thinks that Dr. J. Peterman is the mad scientist.
Yeah.
So they're going to go visit the mad scientist in order to question him. And they just happen to drive by the tented house. So, of course, Mulder just brakes super hard, pulls his piece out, and then runs into a smoke-filled building, a gas-filled building. And sure enough, as he and Scully reach the recently raped woman in the bedroom upstairs who's passed out because of the gas, they both pass out because of the gas.
Yeah.
And then
I was very concerned when I saw those feet walk up to him. I was like, no. We don't want unconscious Scully being assaulted by the Great Mutato. Luckily, it's not what happened.
No, it's just the old man that was yelling at them in the woods earlier, wearing a gas mask, and he's like, you just don't... I can't even remember what he said. It was stupid.
Yeah. I don't remember his exact comment either.
Then they end up getting found, or like when they come to, they're in the house with the doctor, because that was his wife, of course. And Mulder is like still super fucked up from the gas, but he's like stumbling around trying to like get a gotcha on the doctor, and the doctor's just talking him down while he's just fucking falling all over the place.
Yeah.
And then he stumbles upon an empty jar of peanut butter in the trash. Like, Mulder can't lose. So we cut to the old man. He's bringing Sloth a snack in the basement. And he's not mean like the Fratellis, but he's watching Mask with Cher. And
Yes.
I know that you dislike Cher. You started this by talking about disliking Cher.
I
I had
dislike her
never,
music. I
I did,
dislike her music.
I didn't know who Cher was until Mom put on that movie. We used to watch that movie not
Oh.
infrequently. I don't know why, but it taught me a lot about just accepting people instead of
Oh
just
yeah.
looking on the outside. And that was a great movie for it.
That's an awesome movie. Yeah. I have no problem with Cher as like an actress. There's plenty of movies with Cher in it that I enjoy. I just can't stand her music. Drives me crazy.
And then what was it? Dr. Peterman confronts his dad and he's
Yeah.
like, "Why are you doing this?" And the dad's like, "Because I can." Like,
Yeah.
what?
Well, no, Jay Peterman says that to Scully like early on, and they have that low angle shot of him, like that very dramatic low angle shot, German expressionism. And Scully says like, "Why would you do something like this, or why?" And he's like, "Because I can." And then the dramatic lightning with the thunder. His dad says the exact same thing, but I love it when he breaks into that sort of, or he doesn't break in, but he like comes into the thing. He's like, "Tell me it's not true." And then he's like, "How could you do something like this?" And then they start going at it. But yeah, because I can. I love that. I want to start using that more in my daily life. Alyssa's going to ask me something because I can. That's going to go over great.
Good luck. Oh, man. So the next day, Mulder walks into the diner and everybody's fucking mean mugging him.
Yeah.
The chef behind the counter, the cook behind the counter, straight up just hawks a loogie on an over easy egg and then just hands it off to get to him. And you can see it even in 480p. The lady spills coffee straight on his dick, and he's like, "Hey, that's not a place you want to burn a guy."
Yeah.
And then he finds out why, because he picks up the newspaper and finds out that it was reported as a hoax, that they were a hoax, that Jerry Springer ain't coming. So they're all pissed off at him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, people start shouting outside the diner, like, "We got him! Let's go get him!" And it's kind of like a mob scene where they're going over to the post office.
Torches and pitchforks.
Apparently, the post office guy he exposes Izzy for buying a rubber mask that had two faces on it. It was a bad rubber mask too.
Oh yeah.
Like season 1 X-Files budget rubber mask. And why is the post office guy like opening people's mail? He's not Mulder. He can't just get away with it.
That's a good point.
But he did. Straight up looked in the package, found the mask, starts blaming it on him. I think Scully starts propping it up. It's like, see?
I was right all along.
But she finds out that the knockout gas that they've been using, the stuff that they've been burning the pucks, is actually for gassing livestock and knocking it over. And it has to be federally registered by farmers. And she knows that there's one farmer in town that has this stuff. So they go out to the farm where Jay Peterman had earlier killed his dad in that fight. Sloth finds the dad while they're driving over there and has this whole like crying scene. He decides
to the Elephant Man.
No, I've not.
Oh, you should watch that. You know who directed that?
David Lynch.
Yeah. That's one of his best movies.
That's such a weird measuring stick. Okay, so he Sloth carries his dad out and decides to bury him in a pig barn. And I don't know if you know anything about pigs. Apparently not, because You grew up in town, but if he like bury somebody in a shallow grave in a pig pen, those pigs are gonna dig him up inside of an hour and have chunks of his body all over the place. They are gnarly and semi-violent, dangerous animals. So
I mean, I've seen Hannibal. Cordell.
Cordell. I haven't seen that movie in a while, but that scene definitely sticks out with me, or for me.
Have you ever seen the television show?
Well, I've seen a number of them. Yes,
Okay, because the television show is incredible.
it's a movie called The Television Show.
No, the Hannibal television show.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Have you ever seen that? With
No,
Brian Fuller. Oh, dude, you've got to watch it. It is fucking incredible. I argue Mads Mikkelsen plays Hannibal Lecter. I think he's better than Anthony Hopkins.
shut up.
It's fucking great.
Shut up.
You've got to watch it. You've
What
got to watch it.
what streaming service is it on? I'll
I
go
have
for it.
no idea.
You better fucking come up with some answers, goddamn. You can't just leave me all blue balls.
I'll figure it out.
Good. So, what is it? He buries him in the pig barn. He has this whole like crying bit about it. Also, then the FBI pulls up, and instead of assaulting the house with guns drawn, as they normally would if there were a tent there, they just go directly to the barn instead. They find the pucks, they find the grave, and then there's this scene where they both aim up at the barn loft, and you could see like somebody off screen throws a chicken at him.
Yeah.
You can't see their hands, but the chicken is still pretty distressed. And I don't think that Scully or Mulder expected to have a chicken thrown at them.
Seems a little strange, yeah.
They were professionals. Scully almost let it slip, but then she recentered herself pretty quick. But it's worth eyeballing that one. That was funny. And then they find that the dorky bird reporter is hiding up in a barn loft, and that she saw the monster burying the dad. She didn't see him murder him, but she just makes the assumption. Why is she up there?
She's just like an investigative reporter. I think she's just like following the great Mutato around and trying to figure out what's going on. And she just happened to be up there, I think.
Huh. Okay. So as they're doing all this, as they're talking to this reporter, night falls, and then Dr. J. Peterson shows up with the townspeople, and they all got torches, and they're fixing to lynch Sloth. They run past the FBI agents to go out into the barn when he's clearly in the cellar door in frame behind Mulder and Scully. And I just took that as a cue. Like, I know he's going to pop his head out of there. And sure enough, like, while they're running around in the barn scaring the pigs and the sheep and the goats, he pops his head out, and they go down in the basement after him. As soon as they get to the bottom of the stairs, he's vanished. But they see this giant shrine to share one of the walls. And they do find him, like, kind of huddled down, like, I'm a like, he's not saying anything, he's not growling or nothing, but he's hideous looking, and he's huddled down in a corner, and Scully's opener is not hello, but oh my god. Dang, lady, you're a doctor.
I mean, come on. If you saw that, wouldn't that be your first reaction also?
I haven't been trained in bedside manner, man. Like, she's running a clinic, somebody comes in, fucking face on the back of their head, Voldemort style, looking to get it lopped off, and the first thing she sees when they take their hat off is, oh my god. That's not how it's supposed to go with a physician, but
yeah, and Mulder's very nice. He's like, we need to help him because they're going to kill him. So Mulder's got some good bedside
but he's not going to protect him with a pistol. I've seen both of those guys draw their pistol in this episode for lesser reason, but they know a bunch of people are outside with torches, and when they bust into the basement to, like, after they fucking light the barn on fire.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have this brief scene where all the livestock is escaping, so we know that they didn't torch the animals as part of this episode. And then the townspeople start attacking the house, but the agents do not pull their guns out. Then the sloth starts talking in a somewhat eloquent voice for what is something you wouldn't expect out of the monster. And he's just like he started talking about how he's never harmed anybody. And like so rape isn't harm. And then he reveals that Dr. J. Peterman had created Sloth, and that Sloth was raised by their dad and raised him with love.
Yeah.
And then the livestock starts coming in to like watch through the windows and stuff. It was real weird. Like all the broken windows in the basement, like pigs and chickens watching this speech. And he starts talking about his dad. And then it starts zooming in on one of the pigs' faces for some reason, like implying that maybe the hog is Izzy's dad or something. I can't remember what that was about.
It's strange editing choice at the end of this for sure.
And then this is the roller coaster piece that I was on, because he starts talking about it's like I just gassed them so I could like go through their pictures and go through their house and watch their TV and be a part of a life that I didn't otherwise have. So he's not talking about the rapes at all. And I'm thinking at this point, it's like, oh, he didn't have sex with those people, those two women at all. He was just like dancing to Cher and being in their house and going through their shit. And I was like, okay, still creepy, but not so bad. And he's like, well, but now, now that you know I'm a monster and why I did what I did, because he wanted like a mate created for him.
Yeah.
Which,
Bride of Mutato.
And so he's like, okay, now arrest me. And the cops, sure enough, they arrest the doctor. They arrest Sloth. There are no firefighters putting out the barn. Nobody cares that this roaring fucking flame is burning down the farmstead, because that's just what happens. But, it's not that kind of episode. So as they're arresting him, Mulder's suddenly like mad. And he's like, I want to talk to the writer. And then they zoom in on Izzy, like Izzy is the writer of this entire episode. And it cuts to, there's this long procession of cars. And they take him to a Cher concert and sit him right in the front, where this freak of nature just starts swinging his arms around. I mean, he's getting into it, but this is a public showing. Do you look like that? You can't be drawing that much attention to yourself, freak.
You think Cher would notice that immediately and probably be like, I'm out.
Well, no, she did the movie Mask.
That's true.
She probably wouldn't, but she probably isn't like they did in the episode, grabbing a hold of his arm and dancing around with him on stage. Then while they're doing this, he's hanging out at a Cher concert, dancing with Cher. Molly and Skolder get up and they kind of have a loving dance.
You just said Molly and Skolder.
Sorry, Mulder and Scully, Molly and Skolder. They have this like loving weird dance, and then it kind of cuts over to the mom, Izzy's mom, and the Mad Doctor's wife, and they both have birthed two-faced babies. I'm like, wait a minute, he did rape them, and then the episode ended.
Yes, I was exactly like you were like, oh, good. He didn't actually do what they set up that he was doing. And no, the stinger is, oh, actually he did. Actually he did. And it's like, holy shit. All right, Jeremy, your thoughts on the postmodern Prometheus.
It was a fun episode. It was real twisted what he was doing, and once that ending was fucked up. That was fucked up.
Yes, it was.
Like, we're gonna give this guy a happy ending with Cher on stage, but I just
it's one of those things where I'm like, man, I love this episode, but then that end is like, but should I like this episode? Like, do I feel kind of dirty saying I enjoy this episode? Because I think that the acting in it was great. I mean, it's just over the top and goofy. The cinematography is fantastic. I love the idea of the Great Mutado as the monster and stuff. And if they had just sort of not had that little kind of like stinger that's like, oh yeah, on Jerry Springer, they literally had two-faced babies. These two women, I would be like, this is almost like perfect. Because it sets you up like he is the monster, right? He is the really bad, the monster of the night. And there's a reason people are going after him with pitchforks and torches and stuff. And then they pull the rug out from underneath you, and you're like, oh, sweet, that was actually a really cool misdirect. And then they just say, just kidding. Nope, he actually is a horrible rapist. And then not only that, but the two women are just happy as can be. They're glad that they have these, two-faced babies that they were assaulted
Well, they're
with.
on Jerry Springer, so
Yeah.
they're 15 minutes.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you, do you know who wrote and directed this?
I, I don't. I have
David
no-
Lynch. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This was Chris Carter. Chris Carter wrote and directed this episode, which I think is probably the best thing that he has done writing and directing wise this entire show.
That's very safe to say because man, his shit is normally.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great, but I feel like this one is just such a high step up from what he normally does. Like props to him for creating the show and a lot of the ideas of the mythology and stuff. Big props to that. But his actual episodes have not been that great. But this one I felt was pretty great, aside from the very problematic last like 30 seconds of the episode, which
That's
I don't know
brutal.
why. I don't know why you would why you would do that. He must have just thought it was for the joke or something. Like, oh, this would be one more fun thing to put in. It's like,
Well, yeah, he's shown his sense of humor is not there in the past, so yeah, okay,
yeah,
got
yeah,
it.
it's very interesting here. Okay, I had my notes up here. Okay, show notes. There was actually a lot of show notes for this episode. It was I try to like cut them down. I'll go through these pretty quick. Going into the fifth season of the X-Files, series creator Chris Carter noted, quote, "We knew we were going to be hitting these very dramatic marks, which were the mythology episodes, and we wanted to lighten or leaven the season with quirky episodes. Carter wanted to write a Frankenstein-inspired episode, but found it difficult to reconcile Mary Shelley's unbelievable tale with the style of the show. To achieve his vision, he wrote a script that blurred the real world with the X-Files reality, and that had a distinct fantasy element. Carter combined elements of the original story with fairy tales and elements of folk tales. In order to make the episode as moving as possible, Carter sought to echo elements of James Whale's 1931 film version of Frankenstein. He later noted that by using modern science, I took an old style, which is black and white, and an old approach, which is kind of James Whale approach to science fiction, and came up with a story about a love torn monster. The genetic engineering aspect of the story was developed with assistance from the series' science advisor, Ann Simon. Carter visited a friend of Simon, Dr. Thomas C. Kaufman at Indiana University in Bloomington, who had been able to genetically manipulate flies so that they grew legs from their eyes. After Carter had created the character of the Great Mutado, he discovered that cartoonist Matt Groening had already created a character with the same name, although with a different pronunciation, for a comic book entry of The Simpsons. Carter contacted Groening, who gave Carter permission to use the name. Cher's music plays a large role in the postmodern Prometheus. Chris Carter, having written the episode after spending a summer listening to Cher records and developing a fixation on the singer. Oh boy. Carter knew that Cher's half sister, Georgianne LaPierre, was a major X Files fan, and Carter learned through LaPierre that Cher herself was intrigued by the show and would be interested in making an X Files guest appearance. Sitcom star Roseanne Barr also expressed an interest in guesting on The X Files, and Carter wrote the part of Shayna Berkowitz specifically for her. Now, can you imagine Roseanne in that role? Barr, however, was unavailable at the time of shooting. Her projected role was filled by Patty Tierce. While Cher passed on the proffered cameo appearance performing as herself, a decision for which she later expressed regret. Quote, I wanted them to ask me to come on and act, and they just wanted me to come on and sing. Just to come on and be myself wasn't anything I'd want to do until I saw the finished episode. Had I foreseen the quality of it, I would have done it in a heartbeat, unquote. And the makeup for the character of the Great Mutato was designed and created by special effects supervisor Tony Landala. The Mutato mask went through several design iterations on paper, including 10 to 15 drawings and a color rendition. Constructed from latex and containing an articulated second mouth, it cost $40,000 and took between 5 and 7 hours to apply. In addition to the mask, Chris Owens wore contact lenses and dentures. Owens later recalled that, quote, the makeup had taken 7 hours, and then I sat around for 3 or 4, and now I was going to sit in the dark, and I could only see out of one eye. They put a big contact lens in, unquote. Initial versions of the costume were deemed too human-looking, and so a newer design was chosen. So there's your fun facts about the postmodern Prometheus. This is great. I love this episode. Except the last 30 seconds. But everything else in it was fantastic. Let us know in the comments below, folks. What do you guys think of the postmodern Prometheus? Next week, we're going to roll into first of a two-parter. It's called Christmas Carol. Hit that like and subscribe. Tell them goodbye, Jeremy.
Goodbye, everybody.